Today, we're going to dive into the prospect Reef, checking on recent games from Will Smith, Quentin Musty, and Jake Furlong to see what I've noticed watching these guys play and kind of how they're coming along. So all that and more on today's episode.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well, or do both. Both is great. So we're going to be diving into the prospect Reef. Patent pending on that name. I don't know. I'm still workshopping names. But gonna you different segments. We've kind of done this before on, just how some of these guys are playing, watching some of the recent games, what I've seen, what they need to continue to work on. So we're gonna be looking at Will Smith. We're gonna really harp on Will Smith a lot this year, especially because he's the 4th overall pick. And he's very, very important to the Sharks' future. And of course, the big question of whether he will sign with the Sharks. So that's why we're going to continue to harp on Will Smith. We're also going to look at the other 2023 first-round pick, Quentin Musty, and what I've seen from him. And then check in on Jake Furlong, the 5th-round pick from the 2022, who the Sharks did sign to his ELC this summer. So before we get into all that, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you guys by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Also want to let you know, I know tonight the Sharks do play the Bruins at 4 p.m. Pacific. If you want to catch every hit, every shot, every goal from the Sharks hometown broadcast, you can do that with this SiriusXM. On SXM app, search Sharks. So let's start with the 4th overall pick, one Will Smith. So I watched two games from this weekend. This past weekend, the game on Friday where he played the Notre Dame, and then they played Harvard on Saturday. And let's, of course, first look at the numbers of Will Smith so far this season. So he's played 14 games, has 6 goals, 19 assists with 35 shots on goal. 14 goal. He actually has 19 total points. My bad. I screwed up on the math there. Sorry. 14. So 14 games, 13 assists, 19 points. So my bad on math. Math is not easy or fun. Don't lie. Math teachers lie to you. It's not easy or fun. So anyway, though, before we get into the game, so he is currently 3rd among freshmen in points this season. So Macklin Celebrini, number 1, 22 points in his 13 games that he's played. And then line mate Gabe Perreault with 20 points in his 14 games. And then Will Smith is 3rd among freshmen with his 19 points in 14 games as well. That's really good. Like, really, really good. And I know watching Will Smith, I think the big thing that kind of with Sharks fans with watching Will Smith is you almost feel underwhelmed because I think it's his role. And there's a little bit of Will Smith, but his role on the team, especially when you play with Ryan Leonard, who's a very much got that dog in him type of player, and Gabe Perreault, who's kind of a little bit of a do-it-all type of player. But Will Smith is I think with the way he is utilized, is he is kind of the springing the offense. So he kind of hangs back a little bit more, especially in the defensive zone. That's something that he is going to have to work on, is that trying to maybe jump for offense too quickly, especially as he, starts his pro career. But that could also be what the coaches want him to do, right? We know that line in the Cutter Growth line are very important to Boston College, but that line in particular, right? The freshman line is their first line, and they are asked to provide a lot of offense, and they have done that so far this season. But the chemistry of playing with Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard, who I think are both a little bit more physical players, especially a guy like Ryan Leonard, who is not afraid to kind of get in there and kind of mix it up a little bit. I think Smith's role in that is to kind of be more of the laid back guy. Plenty of issues that Smith still needs to work on. Again, I think being a little bit more active and play a little bit lower in the defensive zone, but offensively, you see, and this weekend, the Notre Dame game I thought was the best game I've watched of him all season. Just his ability to create offense. And those two guys just have an unparalleled chemistry. And that is something that one of the big questions, right, is what happens when these guys get broken up. Will they be able to have the same success? And I think the important thing is putting Will Smith in with the proper play pieces around him. And we'll talk about one of those pieces here in a little bit, why it's going to make a lot of sense here. But though I think the Notre Dame game was the best game I've seen from Will Smith. And yes, there were still some issues. I think he jumped out of the zone, a little bit too often, and maybe kind of looking for that breakaway a little bit too often. But again, his ability to create offense, find his teammates. You saw him, especially in the offensive zone, kind of going more towards the middle. And I thought you could see it. The Harvard game they played on Sunday was a very good game. He didn't get on the score sheet, but he was about a combined 6 inches from having his first hat trick. First, he hits the post. Literally hits the post. Great shot. He's over on the right dot. Great one-timer shot, and just hits the post. It happens. Another one, kind of a 2-on-1. He gets the puck and he's got a wide open net, and he just the goalie kind of makes a scramble save, and he just kind of shoots it into the goalie. So if it's basically anywhere else than where he put the puck, it's a goal. And then he beats the goalie on the third, what would have been potentially the third goal, beats the goalie, and it's trickling past the goalie, just about hit the goal line, and it gets cleared out. So Will Smith could have had a hat trick that game. I thought, again, still some of the same issues like I talked about before, where definitely led to a goal where he tries to kind of jump out of the zone way too early while the puck is still very, very low. And good friend Half-Wall Hockey, aka Keegan of the San Jose Hockey Now podcast, kind of talked about, he mentioned on Twitter of his Will Smith, he takes wide arcs when he skates. And again, I think it's that trying to kind of look for that breakaway pass. And that's something he's going to have to kind of work on, those type of details as he goes forward. But I still think the Sharks got a really great player. And I think the big thing will be finding the right teammates for him. And one of those guys we're going to talk about in a minute, I think Quentin Musty is going to be the perfect line mate for Will Smith, because of, again, look at who his line mates are, right? That's put him in a position to succeed. Ryan Leonard, who is just an absolute dog, that dude will stick up for. He's just that kind of glue nasty guy that kind of almost Kachuckish, right? Where he's just it doesn't matter. I'm just he's at one of those guys. And I think Quentin Musty can kind of simulate that role. Maybe not the same edge But Quentin Musty's got a little bit of edge to him too. So we'll talk about Musty here in a second. But overall, I thought good production from Smith this weekend, and you're just seeing the confidence build with him as he's continuing to get used to the NCAA game. And I think he's going to have this. I think he's going to have his breakout goal game here soon, where we're gonna be like, okay, like the big breakout game. I know he's been producing, and it maybe feels like you're waiting for a little bit more. I think the big breakout game is coming here soon. And plus, he's got World Juniors coming up. Boston College, they kind of strategically scheduled. So I think they end around the 9th. So we're going to have couple more of these, of the hockey season. And then they don't really play again until end of January because a lot of their guys are going to be playing at World Juniors. So, of course, a lot of Shark representation expected at World Juniors this year. But I think we're going to have a big Will Smith game coming here real soon. So before we continue, we talk about Quentin Musty and why I think he's going to be the perfect line mate for Will Smith. Just need to take a quick break. And talk to you guys about our good friends over at Game Time. If you are looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's sports, music, comedy, theater, anything that you're looking for, Game Time is the way to go. They have killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and they're obsessed with finding deals that help save you money. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Even an hour after it starts, it's the place to find last minute seats. So maybe you're a little bit bored this holiday season and you want to go to a game that night. Game Time has got you covered. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football. You want to go see the Niners. Basketball, you want to go see the Warriors or the Kings. Concerts, music, comedy, whatever it is, Game Time's got you covered. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same row and section for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's check in on one Quentin Musty, who did have some suspended, a little bit of he slew foot, kicked out of a game, suspended for 2 games. But since then, Quentin Musty has been back with a vengeance. So far in 14 games, Quentin Musty has 11 goals, 12 assists with 55 shots on goal. This past weekend, he had his first career hat trick on Friday, and then 2 assists in that game. And then he followed it up with another 3-point game with 2 goals and an assist. And then he had another great game this week as well. And I watched the 2 goals, 1 assist game against Sudbury, or not. Yeah, it was against Oshawa. And then I watched his game from Monday night. So Musty is a dude, man. He's going to be a dude. He reminds me so much of kind of baby Timo Meier. I don't know if he's ever going to be as good as Timo Meier, but I think he's got a chance of being really close. And just the style of the play of just, I'm bigger than you, I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you. His ability to control the puck and just not be able to get knocked off of it. Occasionally it does happen, right? It's not, no player ever just holds onto it, never gets knocked off. But usually when he has the puck, the only time that he loses the puck is when he kind of throws it away. Maybe he's trying to make too risky of a pass and stuff. But the thing that's so impressive with all of Musty's numbers is how much of it is 5-on-5. So Sudbury, for if you're not kind of paying attention to the OHL, Sudbury is currently among all the OHL teams. They're tied for the 4th most goals. So they've scored 94 goals in 23 games this year. That's pretty good, right? Their power play, though, atrocious. They're the worst power play at 8.9%. So they're doing most of their damage at 5v5. That is same thing with Quentin Musty, right? He's doing most of his damage at even strength, which is what you want to see. If they get the power play on track, and watching their power play, I can't figure out why it's not scoring more, because it looks good, right? Like it's the first line pieces, and the first line does so much work for Sudbury. Like, because I only really watch is just like Musty shifts, right? Now with all these players, I just kind of watch their shifts and what they're doing. So, but like Musty's out there all the time because he has to, because that top line is so important to Sudbury. So he's scoring majority of his points coming from even strength. If they get their power play clicking, and again, their power play looks good, they're just not able to finish it. If that starts, I assume the regression to the mean is going to be coming for them with that. So Musty could be looking at, if the power play starts clicking here and it starts seeing some points, and Musty's a huge part of the power play, he could see his production explode even more. So, but just the way Musty plays, his ability to just kind of always be in the right place at the right time, his physicality, again, he's just bigger, stronger, and faster than most of the other people he's playing with, and his ability, it's for him again. When he loses the puck, it's because he's trying to do too much, and that'll come with learning, right? And that's just experience and stuff. And again, he's got great chemistry with his top line, and they're asked to do everything for him. So, but I think Quentin Musty can kind of play that Ryan Leonard role for the Sharks going forward. If you want to try to replicate, the USA line at some point, Quentin Musty he's more than capable of being, 95% of Ryan Leonard. Like, I think Ryan Leonard's gonna be a great player. If the Sharks were kind of picking 5th or 6th, I would have loved to have picked Ryan Leonard there. And there's even a case to pick Ryan Leonard at number 4. But I think Quentin Musty can do, 95% of Ryan Leonard. And they'll don't have the chemistry, of course, between Smith and Musty that Smith and Leonard have, but that'll come. And I'm really excited about the combination that these two guys are going to, in the future, that these two guys are going to kind of put together. And just because I think Quentin Musty's got that shot, he's got the smarts and just that physicality that's going to be added to that line. You're not going to have to worry about Quentin Musty when he's out there, and Quentin Musty will be more than happy to take care of his Will Smith or whoever he's playing with, especially with Will Smith being a touch bit smaller. Just at 6 foot, while Musty's already 6'2" and 200 pounds as an 18-year-old. Like, Musty looks good, man. Musty there's some defensive stuff he's gonna have to work on, of course, and defense isn't gonna be his thing, but when he gets in the offense, when he has the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, there's very few players that are just gonna be able to just knock him off the puck, especially as he continues to grow and fill out and develop. So, but yeah, the last 2 games, the scores. The goals were, one of the goals was a great work by Dvorsky, who is a top 10 pick. I believe it's a top 10 pick, but yeah, he was a high pick. They kind of worked together to Musty just kind of backed away quietly from the defense, found a nice spot, and Dvorsky found him. Musty was all alone, just nothing that the goalie could do. And but again, even the assists are him making great plays, him reading. And he is one of the big engine pieces to Sudbury, and that team needs him and Dvorsky and and Goyette to kind of be what they're expected to be. So continue to expect to see Musty to just continue to continue to score at this rate. And I think, again, once that power play starts to kind of hit the back of the net, don't be surprised if you start to see like common 2, 3, 4 point nights from Musty, especially if the power play gets going. So another guy who's I was very impressed with, kind of didn't watch too much of him, but Jake Furlong, might be a defensive steal from the fifth with the 5th round pick. So we'll chat about him here in 1 second. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from supercharged roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, so Jake Furlong. And I haven't watched before recently. I haven't watched too much of Jake Furlong because the queue's a little bit harder to watch, especially with the time zones. They're Atlantic. I think it's like 4 hours ahead over there. So wanted to kind of make sure I watched Furlong and trying to catch up on as many of these prospects as I can. So Furlong, if you don't remember, 5th round pick from the Sharks in last year's draft, was just named the captain this year of the Halifax Mooseheads. And so far this year in 25 games, only has 1 goal, 17 assists with 48 shots on goal. But the Sharks might have a defensive steal here. I was so impressed with his defensive game. Again, kind of, you hear about the Q, like they don't play defense, et cetera, et cetera. Jake Furlong plays every shift like it's his last shift. Absolute insane motor, great skater, but just how smart he is defensively, and just kind of his gap control, his ability, especially if he's having to skate backwards and, kind of dealing with a rush, perfect kind of placement and gap control, and stick close enough to the defender where they're not going to, not be able to kind of get by him, but not like, it's just it's not so close that he's kind of puts himself out of position, and not so far away that he can't make a play. Like his gap control is really, really good. And like I said, his motor and his skating really makes up for it. Like it's pristine, his skating, I think. And one play, I watched a game from Saturday where they won like 4-0. And he made some nice defensive maneuvers to kind of keep that game from the other team scoring. I watched another game where they lost 3-0. I didn't watch tonight's game where he played because I would want to record. But I just constantly impressed with his defensive positioning, his gap control, dealing with the rush. He's a little weird because I had to kind of remind himself that he's like still 6'1". Like he almost plays, he looks smaller on the ice. I don't know if maybe it's just his style, where he's kind of a little bit more of a hunched over skater. And he also tucks the back of his jersey in, where he kind of has a almost like I don't want to say a grinder, but he has that kind of, that just the way he looks on the ice. If you don't actually watch him, if you just watch him standing there, he looks kind of more like a grinder, but he's not. He's a very skilled player. 1 goal. He's pretty good along the boards. I was really impressed with his physicality, especially on the boards. One time he got knocked down, and that kind of led eventually to a goal, but his hustle to try to kind of make up for it, again, Furlong plays every shift like it might be his last shift. Offensively, he's asked to kind of do a lot, to kind of create offense, and you see him more than willing to go down below the circles. And sometimes whenever you have a player like that, aka like an Erik Karlsson, it can kind of come back to bite you, because if the other forward isn't kind of rotating to cover you going down, right, and you're down, and then all of a sudden like a weird rebound or something like that, and the other team can get going, and you don't have the forward. That's where you kind of see those bad, those kind of odd man rushes because of Furlong maybe going down trying to create offense. But another interesting thing with him is that he's a left-handed shot, but he plays on the right-hand spot, so he is playing on his offhand basically every shift, every game. So for a team, like the Sharks, who have a lot of left-handed defensemen, Jake Furlong being another one, he's got a lot of experience playing on his offhand. So if you need him to continue to play on his offhand, it looks like he's more than comfortable doing with it. So the goal production and stuff isn't down. I think it's because they have another maybe more dynamic offensive defenseman on their team who's kind of leading a lot of, kind of getting that power play 1, while Furlong's now on a power play 2. But you can see just how much he's concentrating on his defensive game to try to get that stuff right. And a lot of the details in his game, I think, are going to translate really, really well. I'd like him to play a little bit up to his size, if that makes sense, right? Again, he's more than physical enough. He's, is more block shots. He blocked a shot. I put a clip of it on Twitter where he blocks a shot. It is maybe like 10 feet away of a absolute cannon. Blocks a shot, but on the penalty kill, the rebound was so hard it led to a breakaway and eventual shorthanded goal. I think I called it the toughest assist Furlong will ever get because of showed no fear with it. But I again having to remind myself that he's 6'1" because he looks like he's like 5'10", and it might just be the style that he plays. But I think a lot of his skill and stuff will translate, and I'm interested to see especially if he continues to play the way that he's playing, if the Sharks, because he can still go back. He's only 19. He can go back I believe he can go back for one more year to play in his, as an overager in the queue next year. Let me pull up his age just to be sure. Yeah. He is 19. He doesn't turn 20 until March. So he can go back and play one more year. And I'll be really interested to see what the Sharks do if they want him to kind of like again in Larock, or just come start your career next year. And I know Gannon Larock has been kind of dealing with this injury, and it's a little bit different story, but it'll be interesting to see if they want him to kind of come start playing, especially he signed his ELC. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the Barracuda next year, because I think a lot of his traits are very translatable. So, especially if you're losing like Shakir Mukuba-Dillon, who we expect to be up on the Sharks next year, Henry Thrun expected to be on the Sharks next year, and kind of refreshing that pipeline. We'll have Gan Larock full time, but like having him come play on the Barracuda next year, I wouldn't be surprised, just because again, I think the defensive stuff, it's really good, guys. It's really clean. So I'm excited for Furlong and what his potential could be for the Sharks. So that's going to do it for today's episode of the Prospect Reef name potential. Still working on the name, but we'll be back tomorrow to break down the Sharks beginning of the road trip as they play the Boston Bruins. And of course, next week we got plenty of good stuff. Potential interview we got lined up coming up here soon. Well, the interview is scheduled, so as long as everything goes through. But plenty of good stuff. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, and of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. When you're done checking out this show, you guys should definitely go check out the brand new Locked On Sports Today, which covers 24/7 the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at my fry hole. If you're on Twitter and the Locked On Sharks makes it on your Spotify wrap, let me know. It's great to see. More than willing to, show Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Let us know. I'm more than willing to. I want to see him. Makes me feel good. So until tomorrow. Bye, friends.